Welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor here on Deen TV. It's good to have you along. Of course, get involved with the show. Using the hashtag, yes, I know it's very long, hashtag Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Use that hashtag. Let's get it trending on Twitter. And of course, I'll be able to see those tweets and get those tweets out here on the TV. We'll get you involved with the show as well. Otherwise, you can just drop me a tweet or follow me at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook and Twitter. My guest today is somebody that's not shy or not somebody that is known to the entertainment industry. Merentia van der Vent. Hello, welcome. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, thanks, and you?
Thank you for taking the time off radio and coming here to TV. I know that we've both got faces for TV, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's good to have you here. So tell me about yourself. Did you grow up in Cape Town? How did your love for radio start? Tell me about us and tell us about yourself in more detail.
Okay, I grew up in Paarl, which is a little town about 60 kilometers away from Cape Town. And I went to high school there, in primary school, and then I went to the University of Stellenbosch. And then after that, I started to work at the Burger newspaper. I was taught how to be a journalist. They were having a development program, and I was one of the lucky 3 people that was selected from a whole host of people, like 1,200 in the end, and we were whittled down to 3.
Wow.
Yes, over many months. So it was like, I always call it my little miracle. Yes, so eventually I started to work at the Burger. They trained me how to be a journalist because they wanted to see if you can take someone that can write, and someone that's got some of the characteristics that a journalist has, but no formal training. And then and they said it was only for a year, and then after a year, Merentia, you're gonna have to go back to your life. And I said, okay, that's fine. And then after a year, they said, oh, but we love all of you people, because we were 4 together, 1 photographer and 3 journalists. And then they kept us there. They put us in different divisions. We went through all of the divisions, and that's where I started as a journalist, was at the Burger newspaper. And then shortly after that, 5 years, I got a phone call from a lady from KFM radio, and they said, oh, we're looking for journalists. And someone said, you're this very nice girl, won't you come work for us? And I was like, oh, miracle number 2. Yes, and then that's how that started. I said, I have no experience in radio. I would like to try it, but I've got nothing. So she said, come over, we'll do a voice test, and we'll see how it goes. And then
it was always so nerve-wracking, hey? Coming for a voice test, you're like, oh, what do I do? What do I say?
Yeah. What's wrong with my voice? Should I talk louder, softer? Yes, you know, yes. What's this thing about the registers? What is a low register? I mean, I just have a voice. So they wanted to do a voice check, which I went for the test. And then after that, they said, no, we really want you on our team. And that's where I started at KFM.
And you read news?
I was a journalist for them, so okay. I did a lot of stories, and then I basically compiled the news reports over weekends, so I would read the news over the weekends. And then also compile stories for the Monday morning. So when the breakfast team came in on the Monday, the news team and all that, I had written the stories over the weekend. I sourced them, phoned them up. But then on weekends, yes, I basically predominantly read the news, and then also when people were on maternity leave and away on holiday, then I was the stand-in newsreader.
Okay, so tell me about, I'm in radio, I'm in TV. I didn't study journalism. What did I miss out on? What do they teach you? It's very interesting. Tell me about what they taught you.
Well, okay, at the Burger, they taught me that you have to write the facts and you have to source the truth. So you can't just write anything. Same with us in radio, we can't just say anything. Yeah. We have to always think, wait, before I say that, I don't want to get into trouble. Do I have at least 2 or 3 sources to back that up? So that was very integral in the learning of how to write for a newspaper. You have to make sure your information is correct. When you sit in a court case, you have to hear the words that the defendant is saying, and then you must be able to write that down exactly the same and write that in your article. And you can't make up your own things and say, oh, I think he said this, let me add it in there. That's how you get into trouble.
That's hearsay.
Yeah, that's hearsay. So that was pretty much very important. That was one of the lessons that I remembered from the first, and then I just always remembered that. Always. Just be careful of what you say and how you say it, and just be aware of words, and that if you just change the placement of words, you can have a different meaning. So I just learned that words were amazing.
So it's obvious that people are still not taking this course because clearly facts are not being put in the newspapers these days.
I'm sure it is, some of it. No, I work with a lot of journalists from different community stations. We do a news exchange. So I would exchange my sound stories with theirs, with the hope that they'll send me something back. And then maybe if it's a big enough story in the Southern Cape or in Namibia or in Atlantis or wherever, then I will use their story in our Cape Town news bulletins. So I do work with community radio stations, and they do go the formal route. They actually go and they study for 3 years. I have an intern with me now, so she has studied for 3 years, and she works with me, and I've never studied, but I've been in the industry almost 20 years. So that's basically...
20 years?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, almost. I started in 1996 at Die Burger. Wow. Oh, did I?
That is 20. That is about 20 years.
Oh, it's 20 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank
Halala.
you.
So tell me, Merentia, and your love for radio, obviously you're still involved with radio up until this day. Tell us about...
Yes, I'm at a community radio station at the moment. I write the news bulletins from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. I compile, I don't stay there the whole day. I compile most of the afternoon news, and then my intern will complete the rest of the bulletins. So I just I'll put like the baseline there for her and say, okay, now you can put breaking news stories or add anything new to it. But yeah, basically from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and then I also read in the morning the news. And my love for radio really started at KFM, which is like a Western Cape radio station, and they're so popular. And at the time that we started to work there, we were on 600,000 listeners. So then we said, okay, let's get a plan and let's get us to 1 million. And we came up with a plan, and then we got to 1 million listeners. Sure. And just in that whole process of getting there, it was just an amazing time to work. Yes, and at that radio station, it's like one of the most successful radio stations we know in Cape Town, and probably maybe even the country. So it was an absolute blast and adventure. You learn something new every day, and that's the bug of radio. Even the intern by me, she is interested in print media, and now that she has now come to our community radio station and she's learning about radio news, she's like, oh, but this is far more immediate, because that's the difference between radio and TV and print. On radio, I can go on air now live, and I have to give you a live report right now.
That's right.
With TV and print, you can go back to the office, you can go sit and think, oh, what angle will I use now? How will I write it? So you have that option where you can still think about it. With radio, you don't really have time to think. You have to think fast, and everything has got to be correct and that kind of thing. So she's like kind of warmed a lot to radio, I've noticed. So I don't know what she's going to do once her internship finishes. I have a sneaking suspicion she'll try and stay in radio, because once the radio bug bites, oh my word, it's just amazing to work. In no day is the same. That's the one thing that you can say. Even if I'm a journalist and we always write stories, the stories always change. They're always different.
So tell me about some of those stories that you went out and covered, some of those stories that stick in your mind and you go, wow. Some of those interesting...
You know, people always ask me that, and then I have nothing. But I've been in the industry for 20 years. There's I don't know, there must have been a lot. I can't remember them all. That's the one thing that I am very sad about, because we get bombarded by so much information, and I go through, I think my ICASA figures for last month was we used 1,600 stories on our radio station from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So in all of that, how can I remember one of them? It's so difficult.
I mean, a story that you've been involved in, that you've gone out, you've researched, you know, that you've reported on, is there anything that stands out that you go like, okay, this sticks in my mind?
I think it's the stories, no specific one, but it's the stories where I go out and I speak to people. And then you just meet these amazing people that have these challenges that is insurmountable, or that seem insurmountable to you, and they just like transgress it. They just like step through it, and we're like, that's not possible, you know, you can't. And then they show, but with this you can. You just do this, and it's like, okay. So it's that kind of people story. It's really the stories about the people. I mean, I've done like stories where when Madiba was alive, he did a reading at a creche. That was special because I met him, yes. I met him, yes, at the Burger. He actually came to the Burger's offices one day.
How was that experience for you?
Oh my word, that was amazing. Well, I just come from the Platteland in Paul, and then I've just come to the city, and I just got this job as a journalist, and I had no experience as a journalist. And they're teaching me everything I know, and then they say Nelson Mandela is coming, and I'm like, who's that?
Really?
Yes, because I was young then. I was very young then.
Sure.
So, and the Platteland is a very closed community. Yes. You can grow up quite contained if you don't like. I mean, when there was like the protests, we were locked in our classrooms and we were doing lessons, and people were protesting outside, and I was like, what are they doing? No, don't worry about them. Let's do maths.
Sure.
Yeah. So we had
a picture with Madiba.
I didn't get one with him, but I got one with him where we were shaking my hand, and you can see the back of my hair.
Okay.
And
don't you wish cell phones were around? Then you could have taken a selfie.
No, but you see, but he was shaking the hands of all the journalists, so he was going down. But my friend was amazing because I said, don't talk to him. If he talks to you, you talk back to him. But he was so nice. I was like, oh, he's so friendly. But there was a lot of people in this hallway, a lot of them. So all the journalists were there, all the graphic designers.
And he's tall?
Yes, he was so tall, and he had on one of his Madiba shirts. And then my friend had the courage, and she said, you know, we're not allowed to talk to you, but can I ask you something? And he was like, she's right next to me, and he says, but of course you can ask me something. And she's like, can I get a hug? And I'm thinking, why didn't I say that? And then he said, of course. And she got a fantastic photo with him with the hug. But he had security with him, and they couldn't take you were not allowed to take a lot of photos. There was only one photographer allowed to take photos. Okay. So whatever photo he got of you and Madiba, that was it. There was not going to be a second one. There's no posing of photos. He was just going to move down the line. He was not going to stop. So that was pretty amazing. And then obviously the first story that I did was when he was reading a story. He went to a creche in Kailicha, and they said, okay, you wanted to go cover Madiba's story? It's not like one of those high and mighty stories.
And then you knew who he was, by the way.
Yes, then I knew who he was. And I was like, oh my word, I have to go. And I was sitting like on the floor with the kids, and he was reading this book, a story for them, and in Kailicha, and that was my very first time that I saw him.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's hectic. And tell me about some of the other people that you've met along the way. Is there any other people that you've like thought, okay, wow, I would never have met this person if it wasn't for being in media?
Oh my word, I have met too many people. I can't remember them all. Really. I have met, if you're in the media industry, who's the famous
anyone that stands out like Madiba? I mean, obviously Madiba's a big one.
Yeah.
Anyone else that like pops into your head that you go?
I was at a press conference with Bono on Robben Island.
Wow.
And journalists are amazing things, because one of my journalist buddies, it was something to do with the Olympic Games, and the torch was here in Cape Town. You see, I can't even remember these things. And the torch was on Robben Island, and Madiba was there, and Bono was there, and a few other artists as well. Oh, and Annie Lennox and Brian May, you know, those kind of bands. You know, you also, if you work at KFM, you get to get in contact with those people as well. And this journalist, so after Madiba did the press conference and everyone was oohed and awed, and then afterwards they said, we're going to lock you in now because we have to get the famous people off the island, you know. You've got your stories, you've got your sound, but now we need to get the famous people off the island first, and then you can go. And this one buddy of mine, he is so clever. He figured that out. He figured they were going to go into lockdown. So he went out on a smoked break before, but he wasn't covering the story that seriously. He just wanted a photo with Bono.
And did he get it?
Yes. He went out for it. No, I didn't get. I was in lockdown. Oh. That's how I learned, only afterwards. Okay, you've got to think like he thinks. You know? Yeah.
You know, there's opportunities everywhere.
I know, but I'm always the last one to think of them. Yeah. I don't know why.
No, I know when people are going to come out, and when the opportunity is.
I miss them all the time. Yeah, I miss all the big stories. Oh, I shouldn't tell you that. I'm a journalist. Yeah, leave that.
So, Merentia, tell me, something that's also very much within your heart and what you feel passionate about is the Twitter blanket drive. Tell me more about that and how you got involved.
Okay, so a few years ago in 2012, I heard about the Twitter blanket drive for the first time, and friends of mine from Twitter, they said, why don't we become involved? And I'm like, okay, my friends from Twitter, I've never met you in real life, although we live in the same city, and you want me to meet you in real life and become involved in a charity project. why not? So, and then I met up with them for the first time. They were great people, and then they explained what the Twitter blanket drive was about. And then after that, we just kind of like clicked. We liked the whole idea that you ask people and organizations, so just normal people, you ask them, okay, can you donate a blanket, because we want to give this blanket to someone that needs the blanket in the winter. So that's basically how I got involved, and it was just an amazing thing. And it also stemmed from the fact that I've always wanted to do something for my community, because I considered myself, you know, I have a little bit more than anyone else has that lives in a shack. I have sanitation, and I have electricity, I have warm water. So if I want to do something and give back to my community, and I always said I want to do something, and I never did something. So when the vehicle of the Twitter blanket drive came on my way, I was like, oh wait, while you're still thinking what to do to help your community, just go and do this thing so long, because you are still helping the community. It's just now a specific cause, and you can always later do other things, but just get involved with this.
So tell me about the Twitter blanket drive for 2016. It's obviously across the country, across South Africa. How can people get involved?
Okay, so the Twitter blanket drive started in 2010. It was started by a woman called Melanie Menard. She's still involved with the Twitter blanket drive. I just coordinate nationally and liaise between the different cities so that we can have people host the blanket drives. And these are people that I've never met in my life. So you will say, I'm Stephen Taylor and I would like to host in Durban, and I will have to trust that you will not run away with the blankets. Wow. And yes, something like that.
But that happened?
It has never happened. So I mean, yeah, it's never happened. So we can't. There's just a thing where you meet strange people for the first time. These strangers, but they want to do something good. And it's in that you're like, oh no, they do good. This is what they do. Oh, and this is the blankets they collected, and that's where they send the blankets to, that kind of thing. So for 2016, I've been involved now for 4 years. So for 2016, the blanket drive is happening in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Pretoria, also in Durban. And I just heard this morning that Port Elizabeth is on board. They have, yay!
Nothing happens there, so they've got something to do now.
That's going to be fantastic, because I've been trying to get PE involved for 2 years. So 2 or 3 years. I've tried really hard, but you have to get someone that's going to say, okay, I'm going to take control of this, or I will be in charge of this on behalf of the Twitter Blanket Drive campaign. I will give you all the information that you need, the press releases, you need to adapt it for your city. We design the logos from freelancers, graphic designers. So in none of this whole campaign is any money physically exchanged or spent. So when we need a logo, we'll send out a tweet, someone will refer me to someone else, and it might take a longer route until eventually you'll get to someone and say, oh, someone says you're looking for a graphic designer, what do you need? I'm like, I need a logo.
So everything happens literally on Twitter?
Everything happens literally on Twitter. This year and last year, we've kind of brought it out onto the Facebook and Instagram platforms as well, because social media is big. And the reason, and just the reason why the Twitter blanket drive, and it does happen primarily on Twitter. It's just Melanie came up with, she was highly pregnant, living in Claremont at the time. She's now in Johannesburg. And it was like, the original tweet says 2:59 a.m. So she was highly pregnant. It was in the heart of winter, and she was looking out the window in Claremont, this little seaside town, and she was like, it's so cold and I'm inside this house. Wow. And what about the people on the outside? Wow. Let's just get this conversation started, and let's collect blankets and give it to the people on the outside.
And that's how it started?
That's how it started. One tweet, we still have that tweet. Like I say, the time says 2:59 a.m. Yes. It was sent on that day. We have like a copy of it, and that's where South Africans just started to chat amongst themselves, and then just say, okay, I'll do something here in Knysna, I'll do something here in George, and then just collect blankets, and then we select a charity in your town, because I'm not going to expect the George people to send me their blankets in Cape Town. Yeah. There is need in George, so find a charity in George where you can donate the blankets to on behalf of the Twitter Blanket Drive. So in essence, it's a campaign by people for other people. And that's just it. We don't have like big names involved or big companies involved, because we're just people. We all have full-time jobs, and in between we want to help, and the vehicle that we're using to help is the Twitter Blanket Drive.
How many blankets have you raised up to date? Do you know?
Well, last year we collected 1,600 in Cape Town, as well as the year before, and the year before that 1,300, and the year before that 1,300. So that's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 in Cape Town. And then Cape Town alone.
Okay.
And then we have Johannesburg fairly does well with blankets as well. I think one year they got like a 5,000 blanket donation in the early days from Oliver Tambo Airport. So
nice.
those kind of donations are good. In Cape Town, we have like one of our champions is Puma South Africa. They donate yearly about 400 blankets to our campaign, and that's like the biggest amount of blankets that we get.
Yeah.
But for the rest of that 1,600, it's literally people. Just people bring 1 blanket or 2 blankets or 3 blankets or whatever. So it's literally just people. So Johannesburg, I think yearly we collect between the cities about 5,000 taking part. So this year it's happening in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Pretoria. Durban is also involved. We've got smaller towns and this morning Port Elizabeth, PE. And then we've got smaller towns like George in the Southern Cape. There's a writer who lives in Knysna, James Fushia, he's going to do Knysna for us. And then we've got the West Coast covered. The West Coast heard about the blanket drive last year, and they were like, well, don't forget us just because we're on the West Coast and we like really Platteland. So the West Coast is doing it again this year. And basically I just coordinate that, okay, this person is in charge of that area, so I put your name on a list and I know, okay, I don't have to worry about the West Coast, that's your baby. I'll give you all the information and you just run with it and collect. You just send me the name of the organization where you're going to send the blankets to. I need to check that they're registered NGO, because we also don't want to give a blanket to a person living on a street who is going to sell it for drugs or alcohol. Let's be realistic. And it does happen. So we would give it to the organization that actually works with the person on the street.
Okay.
So they kind of know their customers. So they have to be registered. So that is what we do.
Okay, so tell me about the event is taking place on the 26th of May, is that correct?
Yes, we have a few events for Cape Town. Cape Town people are amazing. Nothing against the rest of the country, but they really, before the blanket drive even starts, then they ask me, when are we going? Are we good to go yet? And I'm like, no, just hold tight. It's going to kick off soon. But Cape Town, we have 8 drop-off points. 8 drop-off points. And we're going to have more than one event. But our main event is the Thursday, the 26th of May, and that is happening at the 3 Fire and Ice hotels in Cape Town, Pretoria and Johannesburg. Now, Fire and Ice has been amazing. They give us the venue for free. They put up a sound stage for us.
Wow.
And they get
nice venues, eh?
Yes, they do. They've got this amazing hall in Cape Town. Last year, over 200 people came to the event. Sure. Yes, and so we're in the next stage now where we are looking for artists to perform for us. Last year, Jimmy Nevis performed for us in Cape Town, and the year before, I know in Johannesburg and Pretoria, they had Rubber Duck perform and Motherland.
Yeah, I've never been to one before, so I will be at this year's one on the 26th in Cape Town.
Yes,
yeah.
It's just amazing. And you know what you see there when you get there? There's people from Twitter on their phones. So it'll not be strange if you come to the event and people are on their phones. Not they're tweeting, but they're like, I always speak to Stephen Taylor, SA. I've never met him, but he's here. Okay, I've got to go find him.
Is that what they do? They look for people?
They do that. Oh my, and they come ask me, Merentia, who's this one?
Wow.
I know this person is here. Yeah. Who is this one? But I've never met them, but I've talked to them. So the Twitter community in Cape Town.
You have to bring a blanket, of course.
You have to bring a blanket is your entry. So that's actually the great thing about the event is that there's someone that counts the blankets. So you bring the blankets and there's a corner that they've assigned to the blanket.
Does it have to be a new blanket?
Doesn't have to be a new blanket. It can be a good quality second-hand blanket as well. Okay. So they put it in the corner, and there's one person that counts the blanket. And once you've handed it over to her, you're not allowed to touch it or even look. Yeah, you can just So she counts it. She's got like a counter, and she counts the blankets, and then at the end of the evening, and this is what we missed last year, is at previous years we would always tell the people, okay, well, you collected the blankets, we've counted it, it's over, it's final. The organizations are here. On that night, we will say, okay, Cape Town Child Welfare, Operation Shoebox. This is what the Twitter community, Facebook and Instagram collected for you in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Pretoria. And we've selected the charities beforehand, so this is your blankets. Can you please collect them on Saturday? Because you can't obviously collect it on Thursday evening. So can you get your helpers in on Saturday? And then these are your blankets, and please let us know where you are going to distribute it to. So that's the fun part that we missed last year, is where we say, okay, please go have a lie on your blankets. Yeah. You know, it's like 1,600 blankets on a pile. Just go have a lie in and take some photos. Yeah. So we missed that last year, Stephen, so it must be done this year.
I'll do that. I'm going to jump on the blankets. Yeah? They're like a Tom Cruise moment on Oprah.
You can do that. Yeah, we should tweet that photo.
Oh, we should.
Yes.
All right, listen, where can people follow the blanket drive, the Twitter blanket drive?
Okay, we have a website called www.twitterblanketdrive.co.za. We are on Twitter, obviously. Our official handle is TBD Africa. But most importantly, if you can search the TBD 2016 hashtag, you will basically find all the information on that hashtag, because what's going to happen now is Pretoria is going to start to send their tweets under the hashtags, and PE will be doing the same. Joburg, George, Neisner, they're all going to get online now. So we've launched the blanket drive. Now we need to get people to donate blankets, and now we also need to plan the event. So the event happens in Cape Town, Pretoria, and PE this year as well, and Johannesburg at the same time. So you can
see
imagine
PE people at home right now going, yay, something's happening. They didn't forget us.
It must be the biggest thing in PE. We have to make sure of that.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that PE really like stands out and people is like, no.
I love your PE, by the way.
Yeah, not anymore this year. And from this year forward, we will always be part of a blanket drive. So then literally on that night, we all tweet about the blanket drive. The smaller cities and towns, they finish the Saturday before or the Saturday after.
Let's get a training.
Yeah, no, it always trends on the night. You would be amazed because people know, oh, it's tonight, it's a blanket drive. We go after work, we're just going to chill. It was hard work tweeting people that you don't know, or people or companies and organizations, and asking them, please donate a blanket. And then sometimes you get no response, but then you just go on, because in the end, the blanket is not for you. It's for someone else. So when they tell me no, I'm like, fine, I'll go to the next person. And then no, fine, I'll go to the next person, because it's not for me. I have blankets at home. So, but there's some people that don't have blankets. So Operation Shoebox told me like a few years ago, they did a blanket drop off to this family of 4, a mom and a dad and 2 kids, and they all got blankets, and the guy and the mother was like so surprised. It's like, we all getting one blanket, and we were like, yes, it's what the people donated. You can have, you don't have to share. And it was not about the sharing, it was that they'd never owned any blankets. And I was like, but you know, these are people that live with me in Cape Town, and I didn't even know that these people, they were living in a shack and they didn't even own a blanket. Here I have 2 at home, or 3, and it's got nice warm ones. It's winter, and the winter in Cape Town is so cold.
It is cold.
Yeah, so when you hear that kind of story, and Operation Shoebox, they do come back to us on that. And last year I went on a blanket drop-off myself. We went to a farm school in Atlantis, and then the teachers told me, you know what, there's this little girl in grade 1, and she's so small. She has to get up at 5, she has to leave her house at 5 in the morning to get to the farm school, Merentia.
Wow, that's early.
So that's very early, and she was in grade 1, and she's so even smaller for her age. And then they said now she'll have a blanket to put around her to walk to school on those mornings. And because it's a farm school, they have to use buses or transport, and some have to walk if you're not that far away. But then even if you're not that far, you're still 10 kilometers away, because it's a farming area. So that kind of story is really, it's very nice and heartwarming to know that some of the blankets that we collect go to those kind of people.
Nice. Okay, our time has come to an end, Merentia. Thank you for your time. Well, the time went so quickly, man. I can't believe it. People can follow you on Twitter. Of course, you're just at Merentia.
Yeah.
Is that your Twitter handle?
Yes.
Okay, and the hashtag is TBD 2016.
Yes, that's correct. And our website.
Oh yes, that's right. Give us those details again.
Yes. Okay, so the website is www.twitterblanketdrive.co.za. It's the first time we're having a website. Again, it was sponsored by a lovely lady from the area where we are in at the moment, from Athlone.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, I have to do something for charity, and this will be my contribution. I'll build your website. So it's still in progress. We have some of the things up on there, and we'll be adding more as we progress. But yeah, so twitterblanketdrive.co.za.
Great. Merentia van der Ven, thank you for your time.
No, thank you very much for having me here.
And good luck with the blanket drive. I'll see you on the 26th of May in Cape Town.
Fantastic. Thank you.
There we go. It's another show of Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Thank you for hanging out. Of course, keep using that hashtag Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Yes, I know it's long, but hey, come on. And of course, check me out on Twitter at Stephen Taylor SA. I'll see you next time, same place. Take care. Bye-bye.